Today, we talk about the power of hope. Listen to the conversation and learn some new words.
It's fascinating. I've been applying that cognitive model of hope we discussed, Snyder's framework of agency and pathways. For logistical, well-defined problems, it's remarkably effective. It's a project management system for adversity. It helped me navigate my career uncertainty. I created pathways, acted on them, and landed in a good place. But reading this poem, wrestling with its ambiguity and depth, I feel the limitations of that model.
Limitations? That's a significant evolution from where you were. In what way does it feel limited?
It feels technocratic. It addresses the how of hope with the efficiency of an engineer, but it seems to sidestep the existential why. When I'm confronted with a poem like this, or with problems that are existential, the deep-seated anxiety of our times, systemic injustices, the sheer finitude of life, the idea of simply brainstorming more pathways feels profoundly inadequate. It's like trying to understand this poem by analyzing its grammar. The analysis is correct, but it misses the entire point.
You've hit upon the crucial distinction that philosophers have grappled with for centuries. You're sensing the difference between hope as a psychological tool and hope as a philosophical stance. What you're looking for is the distinction the French philosopher Gabriel Marcel made between hope and optimism.
I've always used them somewhat interchangeably. What was his distinction?
For Marcel, optimism is the view of a spectator. The optimist says, "Don't worry, I have a feeling it will all work out in the end." It's a passive, evidence-based calculation of probabilities. If the evidence points to a good outcome, the optimist feels good. If it doesn't, their optimism evaporates. It's fundamentally detached. But hope is the state of a participant. It is not a hope that X will happen, but a hope in the possibility of X. It's a profound commitment to possibility itself, even and especially in the absence of favorable evidence. It's an active surrender not to a specific outcome, but to a transcendent potentiality.
An active surrender. That's a paradoxical phrase. It implies both agency and letting go. So, the hopeful person isn't just a better problem solver, they're engaged in a different way of being in the world.
Precisely. The optimist is a tourist in reality. The hopeful person is a citizen. This is why Albert Camus, in the face of what he called the absurd, the unbridgeable gap between our desire for meaning and the universe's silent indifference, saw rebellion as a primary virtue. To choose to live, to create, and to love in a meaningless universe is an act of defiance. In this sense, existential hope is the ultimate rebellion against despair. It's looking into the void and choosing to light a candle anyway, not because you expect it to illuminate everything, but simply as an act of allegiance to the light.
But what happens when the void is not just a philosophical concept, but a stark reality? I'm thinking of situations at the absolute limit of human experience. A terminal diagnosis, the irreversible collapse of an ecosystem, a loved one lost to an incurable disease. In these cases, all empirical pathways lead to a tragic and irreversible outcome. To hope for a different outcome seems like delusion, not a virtue. What is hope then?
Then, the very nature and object of hope must undergo a radical transformation. This is the domain of what Viktor Frankl implicitly called tragic hope. It's a concept best understood by what it is not. It is not the hope for a cure, for rescue, for a reversal of fortune. That hope has been foreclosed. Instead, hope shifts its focus from the external outcome to the internal stance.
The internal stance?
It becomes the hope to endure with dignity, the hope to still find moments of love and connection, the hope to bear one's suffering with courage, the hope to create a pocket of meaning in a seemingly meaningless situation. The object of hope is no longer, will I survive, but How will I choose to be in the time that I have left? Frankl's entire philosophy of logotherapy is built on this. Meaning can be found even in the face of unavoidable suffering, and the hope for that meaning can sustain a person through the unimaginable.
So hope in its most resilient form is not contingent on circumstances at all. It's a testament to the freedom of the human spirit to choose its own attitude.
It is, and we can push this even one step further, to a concept the philosopher Jonathan Lear called radical hope. He developed it while studying the Crow Nation in America, whose entire way of life, their social structure, their spiritual beliefs, their very identity was systematically and completely destroyed. Their predicament was not just that they faced death, but that the entire conceptual framework for what constituted a good life had ceased to exist.
So it's a hope for what exactly? If your goals and values are no longer possible, what is there to hope for?
This is the crux of it. Radical hope is hope for a form of life that one cannot yet imagine. It is the belief in a future that is so radically different from the past that you lack the concepts to describe it. It is hope directed toward a good that is currently unintelligible. It's the courage to believe that a new way of being is possible, even when you have no blueprint, no map, and no memory of such a place. It's hope at the absolute 0 point of cultural and personal meaning.
I feel that's incredibly relevant today. With climate change, rapid technological disruption, we are, in a way, facing the end of a world we understood. We need to have hope for a future that we can't fully conceptualize.
We do, which brings us back from the purely individual and into the collective. You worried that this was all just an internal coping mechanism. But what if this existential hope is not just a private virtue, but the fundamental engine of history itself?
The engine of history? That sounds grand.
It's the central thesis of the philosopher Ernst Bloch. He argued for a principle of hope. For him, hope is not just a psychological feeling, but an objective, ontological force. It is the not yet conscious, the utopian impulse that resides in all of humanity. He saw it everywhere, in fairy tales, in music, in revolutions. This very book of poetry is an artifact of Bloch's principle of hope. It is a concrete manifestation of a not yet, a vision of a reality that did not exist until the poet, fueled by this impulse, brought it into being.
So this poem isn't just an object. It's a fossilized record of a hopeful act. The poet's rebellion against a blank page.
Exactly. Bloch would say that our daydreams and our deepest longings for a better world are not mere escapism. They are glimmers of a real potentiality trying to be born through us. Hope, in this sense, is what connects our personal subjective experience to the objective forward momentum of human culture and history. It's what allows us to participate in the project of creating a more humane world.
After a long pause, synthesizing, this is a dizzying array of ideas. We have the cognitive, problem-solving hope of Snyder, the participatory, existential hope of Marcel, the rebellious hope of Camus, the meaning-focused, tragic hope of Frankl, the world-building radical hope of Lear, and the historical utopian hope of Bloch. It feels both illuminating and overwhelmingly abstract. Is there any evidence that this complex philosophical hope has a real, tangible effect on us? On our biology?
I was waiting for you to ask that. It's a crucial grounding question, and the answer is a definitive yes. The neurobiology of hope is a fascinating field. We talked about neuroplasticity, but it goes deeper. The very act of future-oriented thinking, the foundation of all hope, is a primary function of our highly evolved prefrontal cortex, PFC. It is, in a sense, a hope machine.
And how does it work?
The act of hopeful thinking, especially the pathways component, activates your brain's dopaminergic systems. Dopamine is often mislabeled as the pleasure molecule. It's more accurately the motivation molecule.
It doesn't just reward us for achieving goals, it rewards the pursuit of goals. It provides the energetic wanting that fuels agency. So, the very act of brainstorming pathways gives you a small neurological reward, reinforcing the behavior. Conversely, a state of hopelessness, characterized by a lack of goals and pathways, is linked to a blunted dopamine system, leading to the apathy and lethargy you described earlier.
So a hopeful brain is a motivated, engaged brain.
Precisely. Furthermore, chronic stress and hopelessness are associated with elevated levels of cortisol, a stress hormone that, in high doses over long periods, can be neurotoxic. It can damage neurons in the hippocampus, a brain region critical for memory and mood regulation. A hopeful outlook, on the other hand, can buffer against this stress. By providing a sense of control and meaning, it can modulate the body's stress response, potentially protecting the brain from this damage. Hope, therefore, is not just a nice idea, it's a form of neuroprotection.
So by engaging in these seemingly abstract philosophical practices, choosing a courageous stance, creating meaning, connecting to a collective future, we are actively participating in the health and architecture of our own brains.
That's the beautiful synthesis. The ancient wisdom of the philosophers and the modern insights of neuroscience are pointing to the same truth. We are the sculptors of our inner world, and hope is both the chisel and the vision.
It's all starting to cohere. The cognitive model from before wasn't wrong, just incomplete. It's like looking at this poem and only analyzing its vocabulary and grammar. It's an accurate analysis, but it misses the entire point of the poetry.
And what is the point?
The point is that hope is not a single entity. It's a multi-layered, dynamic human capacity that adapts to the challenge at hand. For everyday problems, it's a cognitive skill of agency and pathways. In the face of existential questions, it's a philosophical stance of rebellion and commitment. In the presence of unavoidable tragedy, it's a spiritual practice of finding meaning. And in the context of our shared world, it's a historical force for a not-yet future. It's all of these things at once.
And our task is to learn to be fluent in all of its languages.
Yes, to see that hope isn't the promise of a clear, predictable answer. It's like this poem. It doesn't offer easy meaning. It's complex, it's challenging, and it demands something from you. It invites you into a relationship with possibility, a relationship where you are not a passive spectator, but an active co-creator of meaning. It's not a destination. It's a profound and demanding way of being in the world.
Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, just leave a comment.